I am laying on my bed, so I can't really get in front of the screen correctly. I am still here with Bo, the foster dog, and we are still reading The White Giraffe by Lauren St. John, chapter 8. So I'm going to let you listen to his snores. It's very loud snores. I hope it's not too loud while I read the rest of chapter 8. So without further ado, let's do this thing. But none of this stopped Martine from lying awake at night, aching for her mom and dad, or from wondering about the secrets at I'm not letting you see. I'm sorry. Okay, but none of this stopped Martine from lying awake at night, aching for her mom and dad, or from wondering about the secrets at Sawabona. After nearly 3 weeks on the game reserve, she was convinced that Grace was right. There was a wall of silence at Sawabona. Everything she asked about was met with the same blank response. "A white giraffe," explained her grandmother, when Martine mentioned the tale Tendai had told her. As if a white giraffe could go missing at Sawabona. But Tendai said he saw some tracks. Martine, if there was a giraffe in the game reserve, don't you think that Tendai, who can track the path of a python across Bear Rock, would have found it by now? Martine had to admit her grandmother had a point. But there were other secrets at Sawabona. For starters, there was the mystery of why her grandmother was on a mission to keep her out of the game reserve, and there was no question that that was what was going on. Sawabona was a private reserve owned by her grandmother, but on weekdays it was open to tourists and visitors who pre-booked appointments. They were guided around by the game warden Alex Dupreez or Gwen Thomas herself. That still left weekends. Yet every Saturday her grandmother had 1,000 excuses for not allowing Martine to go into the game reserve, from a shortage of staff to the late delivery of fuel to Sawabona. You wouldn't want Tendai to run out of petrol when a charging elephant was around, would you, Martine? She also overheard Gwen Thomas warning Tendai not to take Martine anywhere near Grace, to whom her grandmother again referred as that crazy old magic woman. "I won't have it," she told him. "I don't want her filling Martine's head with those silly ideas. Grace is out of bounds as far as Martine is concerned." All of this added to an air of secrecy that Martine could almost touch. She snooped about as much as she could and eavesdropped on 1 or 2 conversations, but she discovered nothing that could answer her biggest question. Why had Mum never told her about Sawabona? She found several books belonging to Veronica on her bookshelf and now knew her mom had probably spent much of her life here, but there was nothing to explain why she'd never told Martine about it. Nor did Martine understand why her grandmother continued to maintain a stony silence on the subject. She found it odd that Gwen Thomas never once said a word about her own daughter. Even if she was still grieving, one would have thought she might occasionally say something like, "This was your mom's favorite meal," or "Your mom loved to play the piano." But no, there was nothing. There were plenty of photographs of her grandfather, a silver-haired version of Harrison Ford, with her mom's sparkling green eyes, but none of her mom and dad, even though her grandmother had described them in her letter to social services as the finest people I have ever known. And Tendai, who evidently did know something about her mom, refused point blank to give her any information. "Please, Miss Martine," he kept saying, "you must ask your grandmother." One evening, when Gwen Thomas seemed to be in an unusually good mood, Martine plucked up the courage to do just that. A huge storm was raging outside, and they had just eaten dinner. "Grandmother," Martine began, "before Mr. Gryce wrote to you, did you know about me?" "Of course I did, Martine," said her grandmother impatiently. "What kind of question is that?" "Then why didn't I know about you?" "That's your mother's business and none of yours," her grandmother said, her voice rising. "Your mother made decisions in order to protect you. If you knew why she had done the things that she did, you would be more grateful." How can I be grateful when no one will tell me the truth? Martine burst out. Martine, thundered her grandmother, I won't tolerate this rudeness. Go to bed at once. Martine jumped to her feet. Fine, she said, I will go to bed. But I am going to find out the truth about my mum and everything else that's going on around here, and nobody is going to stop me. Upstairs, Martine sat on her bed watching rain lash the window. It was pitch black outside. Tears ran down her face. She'd lost count of the number of times she had cried since she moved to Africa. She wished she could be back in England with Miss Rose or Mr. and Mrs. Morrison, but somehow she knew in her heart that she was exactly where she was meant to be, in this wild, amazing place with its strange, hostile people. Everything her father had told her happens for a reason. Martine couldn't for the life of her imagine what that reason could possibly be, and right now she didn't care. She just knew that she needed a friend. Outside, the wind slapped and banged around the house, and the thunder cracked as if 1,000 boulders were breaking across the heavens. Lightning split the sky. Martine gasped. A white giraffe was standing beside the water hole, and it was looking straight at her. For a split second, their eyes locked. The small, sad girl, the slender young giraffe, and then the sky went dark. Martine pressed her face to the glass, desperate to see the white giraffe again, but it was impossible. There was no moon, and the rain was coming down in sheets. Martine felt so crushed she could hardly breathe. It was like getting the best present you could dream of, a pony, say, and then having it snatched away again before you even had a minute to enjoy it. It was almost too much for her to bear. She tried to pull herself together. Had she seen the white giraffe, or hadn't she? Could it have been a trick of the light? From the distance, there had been something almost ghostly about it. In the lightning blue flicker, it had a phosphorescent, sorry, I don't know that word, glow. But when she relived the instant their eyes had met, she was certain. The white giraffe was out there. It had looked at her as though it were looking for her. Martine had a sudden urge to rush out into the game park and find the shy creature. She knew there could be terrible consequences. She had been forbidden from ever going into the game reserve by herself, and not even Tendai would risk going in on foot after dark. Snakes, scorpions, lions, buffaloes, and even leopards were all on the prowl at night, and many of them would be out hunting. Martine was well aware that if she disobeyed the order, she could be attacked or gored, or worse. For a long time she sat at the window trying to decide what to do. She couldn't stop thinking about the white giraffe. At last she made up her mind. She took off the shorts she changed into after school and put on her jeans, boots, and navy blue school windbreaker. Behind the bookcase she'd concealed the carved wooden box Mr. Morrison had given to her. She removed her flashlight and knife and put them in her back pocket. At the door of her bedroom, she listened. The only sound was the slowing rain muffled on the thickly thatched roof. As silently as she could, she tiptoed down the stairs. The timber boards were old, and with every creak, Martine fully expected to hear her grandmother's enraged shriek or feel her hand on her shoulder, but nothing stirred. Then, when she reached the kitchen, she stood for several minutes, breathing deeply and taking comfort in the reassuring hum of the fridge. Then she unlocked the kitchen door. There was something very final about the click it made as it swung shut behind her. She checked her watch. It was 1 minute past midnight. And that is the end of chapter 8. So we will read chapter 9 next. There's a little sneak peek at what's to come there. I enjoyed reading with you guys today, and I hope that you have a great day.